Okay, well, you want to take a pool into your local system, right? That's your question. Or what is your expectation?
Yes.
Suppose now, if you want to take this pool into your local system, so open this repository first, automation framework, go to the code. Now you have to copy this URL by using this copy button. Okay, so this is done. So actually there are alternate way as well, SSH. This we are doing by using HTTPS. So if you want to do by SSH, we need a public private key. This need extra setup in your system. So I'm just preparing this HTTPS now. Copy. I will copy this. Now I will go to the Eclipse. I will just go to the new workspace. So there won't be any issue in taking the project. So I think here also we have project. So I'll just go to the again new workspace. I'll go to the time. Okay, now here I will just right click on this left side. I will just use option import. Now here by default I have taken one project, that's why I'm seeing this option. But if you're not seeing, just in search type git. Okay, you will see this option, project from git. I'm just choosing this first option, I'm not choosing the second option. Okay, just remember this. Next, then I have to clone the URI that I have copied from the remote repository. I just clicking on the clone URI, click on next. Now this will automatically get pasted because I have copied that from the remote repository. So this is remote repository, okay, this website. Then I simply click on next. Don't change anything in this window, okay, if it is as it is. Actually I have seen this, I'm seeing this username password because this is my own repository. I'm just use this to push the code, that's why it is showing here. So whenever you want to push the code, you need to create account there. No, you don't need to create. Actually this is my own repository, that's why it's showing. Otherwise you can keep it blank, that's fine. Okay. Then yeah, one more thing here, you have to make sure that this is HTTPS. By default it's supposed HTTPS only. Just make sure this is HTTPS. Then next, then I have created multiple branches there on that repository. So we can choose either all, we can go ahead with the main, that's fine. There is no absolute issue. So I selected all the branch apart from the main branch. So I'm just selecting the next button now. So there is already project in this working directory. So I'll just name as a time again. I've taken this project multiple times, that's why it's showing error. You can see the error. This repository, this directory is not empty. Okay, we'll just putting some another name here. It is a physical location of my system. Okay, next, let me check the message. Session 18. Okay, now I'll check. Wait. Okay, now import as general project. Oh, it's already present there actually. We'll just check some name again here. Next.
So what's that name? I mean, is it the location that we are?
Yes. This is a physical location. I'll just copy this. I will just open it this here. Actual location. Now it's actually this is location. Okay. This is a physical location. It's a directory. Clicking on the next. We can see we got project here. Next. Actually, I'll just simply choose another workspace. I'll just simply not using this. I have taken this project multiple times while showing you the actual practical. So that's why it is giving me some issue. I will delete this repository. How do we start these clips? I will delete this temp as well. This temp as well. Okay. So now, yeah, I'm not deleting this. I'll just keep as it is. Right click, switch workspace. There, I will put today's date. It's a 29. Launch. It will simply take a copy of this remote repository to our local system, local directory. Okay, this is the fresh workspace now. Now import project option saying here itself first time. Okay, so we can use this option import projects. Let's search for the Git project from Git, clone URI. Next. Now it is showing blanks because I have not copied. Again, I'll copy this, paste it here in the URI. All the fields automatically comes here when I paste this first line. Click on next. Now I'll just select the main branch which I want to import into your local my local system. Next, why it is showing because it's the same. I'll just put 26. Like I'll just put 10 some another number. Next. Yeah, we have to select this option import existing Eclipse project. Okay, not this one, last one. Okay, this first option I selected. Next and finish. Now you can see project got imported to my local system. This main branch actually. We can see the branch name at the last. Okay, and this is my working directory name, Automation Framework 1010. Now I'll open this physical location. This is the physical location. This is the project that I have imported from the remote repository. Actually, I was choosing wrong option. That's why I'm not seeing that. I'm just getting the error. Okay. So you can see the project is imported here and it's connected to the Git repository, remote repository. In by chance, sometime what happened, we just lost this connection because we are just clicking this option, right click, team, and disconnect. You can see the disconnect option here. In some cases, now the connection is lost between the remote repository to the working directory. Okay. So in this case, you will not be commit your code. Okay. So what you have to do, you have to again right click on the project, go to the team and use option share project. This will again connect and click on finish. This will again connect your local working directory to the remote repository. Okay. So again, you have to remember this part. This is again important. Okay.
What is turn off share now? Can you please repeat?
Yeah, I'm just disconnecting the project again. Team disconnect. Sometimes it happened accidentally. It happened with me multiple times previously. So this is a solution for that. Right click on it. Go to the team and click on the share project option.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
After share project, click on this finish. And
okay.
Suppose if you are not, after clicking on the share project button, if you are not seeing this pop-up and you are not seeing the local working directory is connected to the remote one, so always you have to go to the physical directory again, open this physical directory, and always you have to make sure that there is a .git folder. .git folder maintains all the information of that remote repository. So you have to make sure that there is this folder. If this folder is not present in this directory, you won't be able to connect to the remote repository. Okay. So you have to remember this part as well, .git folder, why it is here. Fine. Okay. So, Keval, any question here? or you
No,
want to,
Yogesh.
pardon?
No,
Everything?
no.
Okay, fine. Great. So I'm closing this now because I have created multiple workspaces now. So I'm just deleting this project from here and I will just close the window. Exit. Okay, fine. Then we can go ahead with the data provider today. Okay. So I'll just go to the project. Yeah. You can say I have created one new class here called as a data provider. Name can be anything. I have provided the relevant name, data provider. And we have to use this annotation at the data provider. So forget about this part as of now. This is annotation at the data provider. And we have to provide some name here. Okay, and then that name is a search provider. That's it. It's a kind of key, and this is a value. Okay, so I have created one method here with any name. This is the fine. We can provide any name here because it's a simple method. Okay, with the return type 2D object array. This is a 2D object array, two-dimensional object array. Okay, and I have made this method as a static. That's my own choice. Okay, now here I'm seeing one error. So what is that? I'll just use the control space here. Actually, this should be imported at this import level at the top, but it is not importing. So I'm just using this option. Okay, so this is also fine. We are getting this option in this way. That is also not an issue for us. Okay, so simply forget about this part again because we are getting error. That's why we are just choosing this option. So add the data provider, like add the test, add the before suit. This is a one more annotation in the test ng. Okay, through which we can pass this test data. This is actual test data for me. Now it's hard coded. So this is test data. We can directly pass to the test case, and test case can use it to proceed for the to use it in the test case. Actually, suppose if you are passing username password here, if I just type username password here, we can just use the data provider at test case level, and test case can consume it to execute the test case. Okay, now I am removing this error here. Okay, so now you can see it's a 2D dimensional array, right? So it's a 2D dimensional array. This is a row, this is a row, and this is a row, and this is a column actually. Yogesh, Krishna, Bhupesh. This is a column. So this is a 2D array. You have to understand the 2D array. Okay. So we are just providing this two. What you can say, if you are defining the single dimensional array, we just provide this pair of this rectangle bracket, one pair only. And when we are defining the two, then we have to provide the two pair of bracket in 2D two-dimensional array. Okay, now how can I use this at test case level? Okay, so I have to extend this class somewhere which should be accessible to the test case. Okay, so now you can see I'll just create one class here in the test suite, data provider test. Finish. Public. I'll just create one method. Method means test case. I can say public void I will just give the name test data provider test dp. Now here I have to use @test annotation to execute this test case. Okay, so now if I want to execute data from the data provider, so I can just simply put the bracket here. I will simply type in the bracket data provider. You can see the option is coming here, data provider, and I have to provide the data provider name. Now which data provider name? Which we have defined in the data provider class. So this is the name now, search provider. I'm simply copying this name from here in this class. I'll simply use it here. Okay, and now I know that in my data provider, I will just close other windows. I think I have closed all the windows. Yeah, data provider, and where is the other one? Yeah, not this. Yeah. Okay. Now in the data provider, how many values I have passed? This is the first. This is second. again this first row is completed. Then for second row, again 2 values, first, second. Yes, we can say, I'll just put some name here. I'll just consider this is a name and the respective country. Okay, so this first data set is completed. Then this is second set of data. This is third set of data. Okay, so if I'm using this data provider, my test case will get executed 3 times. First for this one, second for this one, and third for this one. Okay, now here I have just given the search provider as a data provider, but how can I use this? Because this is in the different class, this is in data provider class. So I have to extend this class where I want to use this. Okay, so I cannot extend this data provider at test case level. Okay, this is a test case, this is a test class. If I start extending this, I have to extend this to the every test class. Instead of that, what will I do? As per our previous practice, we are extending this test class with the base test case, right? So I'll do that. Extend test base test case. I just remember the name base test case. Okay. This will help you to invoke the browser, okay, and quit the browser. Now here I can extend the data provider. So indirectly we are accessing the data provider at the test case level here in actual class. Okay. So again, I'm repeating this. This is my new class, data provider test. This is a test suite actually, test suite class. I'm extending this to the base test case to invoke the browser and quit the browser. Okay. And again, I'm extending this base test case with the data provider. So I can use the data given in the data provider class. Okay. So again, it's a multiple inheritance I'm using here by extending the multiple class. Okay. So now again, I'm going to the data provider class. Now we can say there is 2 parameters. This first Yogesh name, this is a country. So if I'm providing these 2 names, so I have to define same name at test case as well here as a parameter. So I'll just put string name. I can give any name here. It's a again dummy name. You can say again string put country. Okay. Now I'll simply put this out statement here to see the values if I can use that. Country. Now suppose I'm just putting this, I'm just giving input of this name and country in one of the form in the UI. Okay, so that will take some time. So I'm just printing this, so you can just will understand this data which we have provided in the data provider that can be used at test case level. Okay, so now this test case will get execute thrice. I'm just executing it. Run as test ng test. I'll open the console. Actually, this is opening the browser because we have written some code to hit this URL. Okay, so simply ignore this part. This will open by default. You can see, yeah, let's execute this test case. Okay, fine. Okay, now you can see first it have iterated this. I'm just again going to the data provider. Just printed the name Yogesh, then country India. Test case execution, test case 1 execution done, means first iteration done. For second iteration, it has just printed the Krishna, it's a Krishna and UK. Same for the third one. Okay, Bhupesh and USA. And at the last, it's just printed past this test DP. This is a test case name, test DP, and this is the parameters actually. This again we are getting as a part of console printing automatically. So this is the way we can use the data provider. Now we can see we have coded everything here in the data provider. So simply what we can do, we can just use any external data source, for example Excel, CSV, or JSON file, if wherever you want to. You have to create one method there, and you have to simply pass data into the 2D array here in this method. Okay, so you can use that at test case level. Any questions here, guys? Actually, there is no Excel sheet, no Excel in my system, so I'm not able to automate that Excel scenario with Excel sheet. Okay, so this I'm using Excel sheet, but this is not actually Excel sheet. This is having ODS format. So I cannot use this for the Excel purpose. So if you want, I can just provide the link for that, how to automate this using the Excel. I'll just going through the link. I'll just show you how to automate this scenario using the Excel sheet. There is a code which return the 2D array from the Excel sheet. Let me go to that code directly. Yeah, here is a code actually. You can see create a functions to open and read data from Excel sheet. You can simply copy this code, your system, and you can just execute it code. It simply return the 2D object array. Okay, whichever data you are given in the Excel sheet that can be written, that will be written and will be written at this function, and this function will return at the test case level. Okay, so I'm just pinging this link in the chat window. You can use that. Okay, any questions here, guys, in this data provider?
Can you go to the base class, please?
Yes. Hmm. You are
Where
confused
you
here.
have
Why
used that?
Which one?
You have just extended to the data, this data provider to the base class.
Yes.
And then in test, you have just created the method.
Method means actually this is a test case. At the test means it's a test case.
Okay.
Okay, simply we can directly extend it here. No problem. So I'll just extend here as well. Directly data provider. That's fine. There is no issue. But if I extend in this way, my browser will not open, right? That's why I'm
Okay.
extending in that way, different way. Because I have to.
So we don't need to write anything in base test class, but just we need to extend and we need to give the method in test.
Yes, right.
Okay.
Actually, simply intention is why we are doing this, because we need data provider method to be accessed in this class. So how we can access? By inheritance, simply, right? That's why we have used inheritance concept here. Now we can see that we can directly do the data provider access here. That's absolutely not issue. But again, why we can access, how we can access that before method and after method here? We have to write a test case level again. Again, that will just break the flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, sir.
Yeah, Nagendra, tell me.
So, for example, I have to create for login.
Mm-hmm.
I create a page, test suite
Mhm.
for login.
Mm-hmm.
So, inside that, I just put that @test to this
Mm-hmm.
data provider only in that test case, right?
Yes. Here actually you can write your Selenium code.
Okay.
And you can just use this, and simply this will be used in your automation in your script. Means username or password will be used to enter data into the input box, and it will just execute login flow.
But I have to create that data provider class
Yes, you have to create
separately,
of course.
just
Yes.
like a data provider you create in
Yes. You have to
another
create this.
package.
Yes.
It's not on the same page, right?
You can create anywhere, but it should be meaningful. That's why I'm just created in the core package actually. Core means it
Okay.
can be used across all the project. This is a common functionality. Suppose you are working on a multiple project. So
Yes.
this will be a common code for all the project. That's why I'm putting core.
Yes, sir. Or it's a good practice to do, right?
Yes, right. Because if anyone is seeing our framework, he should know what we have did in this package, what we have did in this class. So that name should be meaningful.
Yes, sir. It's good for understanding for other also, right?
Yes. And you have to remember that the which name you are providing here in the name, same name you have to provide at test case level.
Okay.
There should not be any mismatch. You don't have to provide this method name. Okay, so this method name is a get data from data provider. Sometimes what happen in confusion, we just copy this method name, and we just paste it here. Okay, so it will not read data from data provider. Okay, so there we are using @data provider. You can see, now forget about this. Actually, I'm not sure what is getting. We are just using the @data provider annotation here, and we are just using attribute at test case level. This is attribute now, right, for the @test.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just remember this part again. Again, sometime it create confusion. Okay, so again, I'll just commit this code to the repository, so you can take a pull and just have a look at it. Okay.
Does it is only already means we can only do it in the 2D, or we can go for the 3D also?
No. It's fixed. It's a 2D only.
Okay.
Why we need 3D actually? Because
We can
2D
pass
means
on the
it's a row
3
and column.
values. Sorry.
It's 3 values we can provide it here, right? Suppose I'll just pass it some pin code. Pin code means I will just actually pass the value of pin code. That's fine, no? 2D
Achha,
means
okay. It is.
first,
It doesn't have any connection with that.
yes. 2D means what? It will have a row. It will have a column. I'll just explain it again. Okay, I'll just put some 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll just put again. You can provide n number of values here because it's a row now. That's why I put in this way. This is a row. This is again row. This is again row. Okay, so you can put unlimited values here. Again, this is a column actually. This name, this is the one column. Yogesh, Krishna, Bhupesh. Then India, UK, USA. This is a column. This is again a column. I'll just put it here again.
Okay.
0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay. So now I'll just modify the test case and I'll print this as well. Okay. How? I'll show you. This is actually a valid question. You should know this. String pin code. Execute this. It's fine. It's executing. You can see here. Actually, I just given the wrong label, so it's printing the pin code as well here. You can see. Okay. So
Yes.
2D means it's a combination of row and column. So it can be anything. It can be any number. That's absolutely no problem here.
Okay.
Just again, I'll open this. Actually, the if you go with the traditional structure, we just define in this way. I've just formatted it to understand more clearly. So usually we define in this way. We just put everything in same line. So it creates a confusion sometimes. So that's how I just put at separate line. Okay. This way we define the 2D array. But again, it will create a confusion. What is this? You can see this is again first row. You can just consider this first, second, and then third row. And this column first, like this. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
So here you print that data without loop because you use a return new every time new object, right?
Yeah, that's why I said you. Yeah, in BDD we use the scenario outline to execute test case for multiple data.
Yes, sir.
Right. Here in the test ng, we can do the same thing by using this data provider. Okay. Suppose in case if you don't want to execute test case for multiple data, we will just give this single data. So our test case will get executed once only. That's also fine. You don't have to go inside actually. You just understand what actually it's functioning.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I also don't know what actually it happens internally, how it execute multiple times. But I know that if I passing multiple data, it will execute multiple times.
Actually, sir.
Yeah. Tell me.
Return new object, right?
Because yes, sir.
Yes, sir. This new is used to create object.
Every
new
time
object.
it's create a new
Yes.
object in a heap memory,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. If you just say return object, this one, what will you do? It override the existing one. So this is not a proper syntax. It is showing.
This is not a proper syntax.
Yes. So basically, the new keyword is used to create object and assign a new variable.
Memory allocation.
Yes.
New is used for memory allocation.
Yes, absolutely right. New is for memory allocation, right? So
Yes.
every time new means every time memory will be allocated.
Yes.
Correct. Every time memory will be allocated, and it should have some variable associated with it. So it will be
Yes.
some variable will be pointing to it, right?
Yes.
So that's the work of the new.
Yes.
And
Right.
if I go in deep, if you can check that you have only one variable over here. Now the parent variable will be becoming orphan. Means the parent one will not be pointing, no variable will be pointing to the parent one. Suppose Yogesh India, the first one, right? So it is becoming black. Now where the finalized block, the destructor comes into action to garbage collection, actually, for garbage collection. So this is the whole year between new finalize this concept.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Actually, in backend, it might use the stream because there is one concept in the stream of in Java 8 or Java 9. What it do when it consumes? Suppose if data is consumed, so it will just keep this. It will just remove that from the list. It will just look for these two. When this test case got executed for second data, it will just remove that from the list and it will just look for this third one, like that. It's a stream concept in Java 7 or Java 8. I'm not sure. I think it's Java 8 only.
Lambda and stream, I most probably believe in 8 or 9.
8 only. Yes.
Yes.
That concept can be internally used in this data provider.
Yes, maybe they may use that particular concept which you're telling in this also.
Yes, right. Okay, fine.
So sir, in data provider, we provide the data, or if we
Yes.
want to send that data to the browser, then we use .send keys in our test case.
This is the test data actually. Yeah, yes, right.
Yes. Instead of sysout, we just use this send keys where we want to send that data.
Sysout is only for understanding. At test case level, we never write sysout statement. Just remember this again.
Yes, sir.
That when you're debugging the code at first time, you can just use the sentence sysout. But when you are finalizing your code, don't use that sysout at test case. Okay. Okay. Fine. Then this is for the data provider in the TestNG. Then else, yeah, one more thing. So URL and browser values from the application properties. Now you can see we have just automated the Chrome browser, right? So suppose in some case we just need to automate for another browser. Same script should have to run. Okay. So what will you do? Instead of doing the changes at every time, we'll just create one method here. We'll just go to the class again. Now you can see in the pre-step we have just initialized the Chrome browser now as of now. Okay, but in future we might be deal with the other browsers. So what will you do? We will simply create one application properties. Minimizing this window. Where is application properties? You can see here I will just press browser. This which browser I have to execute, on which browser I have to execute test cases, and URL, which URL I have to hit. But in some cases what happen? Suppose your URL is something abc.com now today, but in future the website will be same, but the URL will be different, abc1.com. So you don't have to go to the code. You simply have to change URL at this application property, and that should reflect at your test cases. Okay, that is the whole intention of this application.properties. So I just created this application property. How I created, I'll show you first. Right click, new, go to the file, give some name. Now I will just give application1.properties. I'm just giving application1. Sorry, it's a spelling mistake. Application1. I'm just giving the one because application property is already there. Properties. Okay. And simply click on finish. So this will create this application property at the root. Root means or just below this automation framework. Okay, not inside any folder. Click on finish. So you can see the application1.properties got created here. So you can provide any, suppose browser. This is you can see this is a key value pair. Browser is a key, Chrome is a value, like that. URL is a key, and I will just put this www.google.com. This is the value. Okay, so it's a key value pair, we can say. Okay, so now I have to read this application property. Okay, then only I can fetch the values here. What is value of browser and what is value of its URL. Okay, so I'm just going to the another class. Now I have created another class here, support method, and you can see the code to read the values from the application.properties. Okay, I already copied the code yesterday night, so I'm just going through the code one more time quickly. You can see this is a simple method. You can put any name, but I have just put the meaningful name, get property value. Okay, so whenever we are just passing the values to this class, to this method, it will simply return the respective value. Suppose I am just passing the URL, so it should return the what is the value in the application.properties, because I have just provided the name here, application.properties, from where the system should read the values. Okay, so this is a normal syntax. File reader is equal to new file reader. We have to provide the name here.
Yogesh, so we don't need to extend that application, that property. I mean,
no,
what we do normally, methods.
No, actually, this is standalone class. Actually, we are just using these to read the value from properties file, dot properties file. Okay, and I have just made this method as a static. Okay, so whenever I'm using this method by using this support class, I will just call this method by using support method dot get property value. And if I'm passing URL here, it should return to URL which is present in the application.properties. Got it? We don't need to extend this class. Okay, so yeah, so again for reading the properties file, dot properties file, we need this class properties equal to new properties, simple properties dot load. Again, you can just Google it out this code, but I'm just showing the overview. Okay, properties dot load, and I'm just passing the reader where I put actual the application properties file. Okay, so now this is at the root, so I'm just putting this application property. If I put inside any folder, so I just provide the that folder name here with the file name. Okay, so now I have to read the property value. So there is a method in the properties class, this properties class. So I'm just using the object properties dot get. If I'm using I will just pass this from this parameter. So I'll just pass URL here, so it should return the URL. That's it. This is the code for the reading the values from the dot properties file. Okay, so this is dot properties. Okay, now I'll use this code to I will just use this code at the best test case. So I'll just drive this code based on these application properties. For example, now I'm using this for the Chrome. I can use same code for the Firefox if I'm just passing the Firefox value from the application.properties. Okay, now see, I'm just putting the code here. I'll just put condition if. Now this code is for the Chrome, right? So first I will put the condition for the Chrome. Now which method I have created? This one method from the support method class. I will call that method here if support method. You can say support method from com.demo.common package dot get property value. So which property value I need here? For the browser, right? So what I have given for the browser here in the properties, I have given the browser, right? I'll just copy this.
Oh.
It should be exactly match. Yeah, tell me. Yeah, fine. I will give you this in trouble code. What is happening? Type mismatch. Convert string to Boolean. Okay, fine. Just put this condition. I'll just put the bracket here, and I will just complete this bracket at where I just put before opening the URL. Okay, here I will complete this. Okay, so control I. Okay, fine. Now it will simply read the value from the application properties, this value. If this is Chrome and this is matching with this Chrome actually, so it will just execute this part of code. Okay, so now if I want to execute in the Firefox, I'll just separately write the other code. I'll just keeping this code below. after that if condition. Okay, we'll again check if else if. We'll just copy this code again for the if condition. Now I'll just put Firefox. Okay, I'll just again put bracket here, and for Firefox I'll return the code now. Okay, I'll just copy this code. I will just use that for the Firefox. Now instead of Chrome driver, I will use Firefox driver here. Setup, then Chrome option this option I don't need here. I don't need this as well. It's a Firefox. Okay, done. Now again I can see this is a common code in two methods. Okay, we'll just keep it aside again. We'll just cut this from both the method and paste it outside of the else condition. Okay, fine. Now you can see we have written the code in the else condition till invocation of the browser. Other code is same. Okay, I'm deleting extra line of code here. Okay, so now what will I do? I'll just execute this code and I will just see if my Chrome browser is opening or not, because the first value is Chrome. I'll just check the value Chrome. If I'm giving the same value in the application properties, it's a small c, it will not work. Now I have to give in this way. Okay, so it will Chrome. So now I'll execute one sample test case for Chrome and one sample test case for the Firefox. I'm deleting this extra application properties. Continue. We'll go to the one class now. I'll open this. Now this test case should execute for the Chrome browser. Okay, right click, run as test-ng test. I've given the Thomascope URL. It will not work. Sorry guys. I'll just change the URL first. Then I'll execute it again. This also I will just code for this URL as well. First I have coded for the browser. Okay, so we'll go to the best test case again. Where is the URL? Yes, here is the URL. I will execute this case again. Yes. Run as test-ng test. It's failed, that's fine. The intention is to open the Chrome browser only. I think we have intentionally failed this test case. Yeah, here actually we have intentionally failed the test case by placing space. Okay, now I'll just change the value of the Chrome to the Firefox now. I'll put it into the, just check if there is same value. It's a Firefox, okay. Now I'll execute the code again without any change, without this change. Right click, run as test-ng test. Now you can see the Firefox browser got opened here.
So Yogesh, if we want to change the browser, then each time we have to go and change in that application property?
Not each time. Suppose your requirement is to execute test case on the Chrome browser first. So you can simply keep it Chrome here. And in further cases, if you want to execute same test case on the other browser, so you have to change here at least. Because your framework should be capable to execute test case on every browser, right? That's why we have just keeping this application property here.
Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to ask. Like, first we have executed it on Chrome, and then later if we want to execute it on Firefox. So
Yes.
first we wrote here as Chrome, then again second time we have to go and change it to Firefox, right? Like,
yes.
like
You have
that.
to. You have to. Yes. Okay. Because instead of doing the changes at code level, you should keep your changes minimal. So if you are changing here, so you will not cause any other issues. Because if in some cases you are trying to change the code here itself, so it will might cause some bigger issues. So always you have to keep the code separate and application configuration separate, configuration file separate. Okay, that's the intention here. Okay, so suppose any non-technical person working on this execution only. Okay, so you can simply ask that guy to change the values here. Don't touch any code at test case level or framework level. Okay, so he will just able to change these values and able to execute code on different browser. Okay, now I'll just go for this URL because URL also we have hard coded in the base test case. Here you can see. Okay, simply we can use the same approach. I'll just use this method, support method class dot get property value. Okay, not it's not a browser now, it's a URL. Let me check the spelling. It's a small case URL. Okay, now I'll execute and I'll see if the test case is executing or not. Run as test ng test. It should hit the URL. Yeah, it's hitting, so our configuration is right. Okay, done. Test case pass always. Okay, fine. Any doubts here? How to create this file, how to read the data from the application properties. This is again the important part. You can just implement it in your framework to make application configurable. Okay, like this, you can just put your code to support multiple browser as well, like Edge or IE. Okay. That can be done.
Show this class support methods.
Support method, yes. This is only code to read the value from application properties. Any question here, Diksha, in this class?
Hello.
Yeah, Nagendra, tell me.
Where you create the object of properties.
Yes, properties class, yeah.
Where is that property class?
Why? Okay. Whenever you are reading the values from the properties class, you have to create. It's in util package. This is again inbuilt of Java.
Okay, it's an inbuilt class. Sorry.
Yes, you don't have to worry about this part. File reader, properties. This for this class you don't have to worry. It's inbuilt.
Okay, sir. Wait, that's I'm searching where properties are you creating object.
I have not created that. Yeah.
You just created the application properties file.
Yeah. If you are not understanding this code, simply Google out. I'll just show you.
No, sir, I understand.
No. In some cases, if you are getting confused, so simply Google out how to read the values from application properties. How to properties file. And you can simply book Java. So you will get the code. You can see same code. You will get it here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anywhere that's available globally. Okay, and I have just made this method static. So yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Please continue. I'll ask after you.
Yeah, I have just made this method as a static, so we don't have to create the object of this, and we can directly call it at base test case here. We can see we have called support method dot get property value. Okay, and I can just directly use it in if else condition. Yeah, Shubham, go ahead. Shubham, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Go to the please go to the support method under common package.
Yes.
Now, if you can see this property value equal to string of properties dot get property, right?
Mhm.
So what is this technically called? String
Yes.
and of property.
Yeah, when I want to read any value, I have to use. I already said that it's a key value pair in the application property, right?
Yes, yes.
This is a key. This is a value. So in HashMap also we use the get. If this is HashMap, we use the get browser. Then we will use this. We'll get this Firefox as output, right?
Yes, yes.
In same way, what I'll do, I'll just use that support method. Yes, I'll just use properties. This is the object dot get, and I have to pass the actual property name, which I am passing from the method itself. Okay. So now, if I'm going inside this, what is the return type? It's an object, but I
Yes.
don't need object. I need a
Yes.
string
Yes.
because I have provided string here. I know that
Yes.
this is string.
Yes.
So I'm just converting this to the string. So how can I convert? I have to cast to the string.
Yes.
Where you use typecasting, right?
Yes, typecasting.
Oh,
You don't have to much worry about that. If you don't know return type, simply go inside that method, say the return type. You can use the object as well. That's fine. But again, you have to convert this at the, again, if you're using object here, you have to make changes at base test case here. Here you directly cannot compare, right? It will not allow equal method. It will might give some other error.
Because equal methods belongs to string class.
Yes.
Sir, here we use wrapper class, right? Just we create object into very string.
Yes.
Unboxing, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Converting object into string, that is unboxing.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, fine. Any more questions here? Okay, fine. Then this is done. Then we can go ahead with the automation of few scenarios. Okay, fine. So I'll just making changes in the application properties now. I'll just make it Chrome.
Yeah, one more topic.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, hard asset and soft asset.
Okay. So I'll just go to the test case now. Here is the test case. Here is the test case. Okay. So this is hard asset means when we are using the hard asset, it will just stop the execution when that expected condition does not match. Okay. In soft asset, it will not halt the execution. It will just continue execution. It will just, if you want to print the message fail, we can just print the message fail in the soft asset. It will not just stop the execution in between.
Okay.
That's the difference between soft asset and hard asset. So this is a hard asset. So for the soft asset, there is one class called a soft asset. Again, we are not using soft asset. It is again very rarely used. So always use we are always use the soft asset. We can just create a class soft asset is equal to new soft asset.
So what is that soft asset?
Again, it will create confusion in your mind now.
So it's nothing but a part of asset. Like we have implicit weight, explicit weight, and fluent weight. This asset is also similar to that, where we have two assets, one hard asset and one soft asset.
Yes. So when we are using this hard asset, it will just stop the execution if this condition does not match. Suppose, for example, if this condition is it returning false, so it will just stop the execution at line number 35. But in this case, it will not. It will just continue the execution. So don't use the soft asset. Just use the hard asset. Okay. Yes. And also, if you want to execute, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Please continue, please.
Yeah. If you want to go ahead and verify something, so you can simply print the log into the extent report if that condition is failing. But don't use soft asset. That is not actually required.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Also, sir, suppose there are 12 test cases, right? And every time we are using hard asset, right? Suppose in the first test case, the asset got failed, right? So according to me, what it will do, it will not execute the rest of the test case. No. And even if it execute, it will mark the test case like we get the report over here, no? After getting executed using testng, correct? So it will mark this as fail, right? But when you use soft asset, what it will do, it will keep on executing the rest of the test cases. No. In hard asset also, it will just keep executing all the test cases. Okay. I'll just fail this test case. I'm just putting extra space here. Okay. So it should fail now. And I'll just uncommenting the other test.
This also there is, let me, okay, fine. I'm commenting this as well. Now I'll execute this class. This first test case will going to fail. Okay. So I click I'm getting some voice. Who is this? It got terminated. Why? What happened here? Let me check. Pass test 2, test 1. Let me check the error. What happened here actually? I'm not seeing this view proper. Opening the test ng. It's a test 1, test 1. Why it is not executing test third? Okay, fine. Actually, I have used the data provider here. Let me modify this test case, last test case. Okay, fine. Execute it again. You can see the further test cases are executing, not getting skipped. Shubham.
Yes, getting it.
Yes. So actually, these are the basic thing. If you don't know, you can just simply practice it. Actually, sometimes the functionality might got changed slightly. So you can see the passes 4, the failure 1. Now you can see how anyone can tell me how this is a 5, because there are only 3 test cases right now here.
Because of the data provider, we are executing it 3 times.
Yes. This test case got executed thrice. The line number 45.
Yes.
Got it. Great. Okay, and this is the assertion that got failed. This one, that line number 35. This one. Okay. Why this? We will send this way. We will just drag this down. Close this a little bit. Okay, fine. Any more questions, Shumam, or anyone? If they don't have any questions, so we can automate skip scenarios today again.
I have question in yesterday's thing, which you have to that Thomas website.
Yeah, Thomas website. Okay, I'll go there. Actually, this website is not stable.
No. Can you go for the code one directly?
Okay. Code one. Okay, fine. Where is Thomas Cook? Yes, this code. Yes.
Here we have passed the menu options, holidays and bike trip.
Yes.
Okay. So today you shown us how to provide it by the data provider. So can we pass these values by the data provider?
Yes, we can pass.
So like instead of that 3 things, we need to give the values there.
Yes, right. But ideally, these are the menus, right? So for menus, we don't use the data provider, but which are the actual values? Suppose somewhere we want to fill up the form. So there is a first name, last name, that kind of thing. In that case, we use the data provider actually. But in this case also we can use. That's absolutely no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here again, we have to pass this. We have to just create a string. Suppose, for example, this holiday and bike trip. I'll just use the string. For example, main menu, then comma, string, and the second submenu. I can write like this, and I can just simply define data provider here at test case level, and I will just simply modify this data provider, or I'll simply create new data provider. That's absolutely fine.
Okay.
I can create multiple data provider here. That's upon your choice. Okay. And I will just pass these 2 values only, whichever I required at test case level. That's it.
Okay, got it.
Okay, yeah, fine. Where is that? Let Thomas go. I want to remove unnecessarily code. Okay, fine.
And one more, that mouse actions.
Mouse action, mouse over, yeah, right? You're talking about mouse.
Automatically we can
Tooltip.
do the
You're talking
mouse
about.
actions.
Let me check. Let me check that site. This is the website. Mouse over. Where is that mouse over? Yes, you're talking about this part, right? This mouse over, right?
Even we can perform the mouse actions, no, like the mouse will automatically move from the particular element to the another element.
Yeah, here we can use the move to element actions class.
Yes.
Yeah, that we can use here. Actually, I'm just inspecting this click me element. You can see. Now, just observe this. So whenever I'm hovering mouse on the click me, okay, it is showing me the active link tooltip. You can see that.
Yes.
Yes. So that we can verify. How we can verify? Now, now observe the DOM structure. Again, I'm hovering mouse to the click me. Where is it changing? Yeah,
it's changing the title to
title.
active
Yes,
link.
yes, it's changing title. So simply we can verify if the title is displaying, title is coming into the DOM or not. If it is coming, that means that we are seeing the tooltip in the UI. So we have to create locator for this title active link, and we can verify if there is tooltip in the UI or not. Okay, so I'll just automate this scenario now. I'll go to the test case. I'll just create one class here, test class. It's a mouse over. Test, finish. As per regular practice, we are just extending this test class with the base test case. Okay, fine. Then I'll write one test case here, public void. Also test. Not write code here. Okay, before that I will just put the test annotation here. Okay. So now in the before method, what I have done, it should be navigated to the this URL. Which URL? This. Okay. So this is a base URL. So I have to click to the mouse over in the UI first. Yeah. I have to click to the mouse over.
We can give the direct that URL because
yes.
this part is understood, like how to click on it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll just provide direct this URL only. Okay, that's perfectly fine. So I'll just click I'll just create locator for this. Okay. So this is mouse over page. I'll just copying this XPath. I'll go to the page. I'll quickly create one page here. Delete this page factory constructor. Okay, this is a constructor. Then I'll just copy. I just forgot to copy one syntax here. I'll just copy this and paste it here. Okay. We'll make it XPath here instead of ID. Now I'll just give the name link click me. You have to follow the naming convention in the right format. If it is a link, you have to give it the link. If it is a text, you have to give the text. Okay. So now I'll just create one more locator for this. Now we can see when we are hovering the mouse on the click me. So this DOM is getting changed. So we can say it's a refresh kind of thing. So we will not create locator here. We'll just create locator inside the method. Verify tooltip. Here I will use driver.find element. It's a best case. Driver.find element by dot path and double quote. I will put XPath here. Now I want to create XPath for this. Now you can see a title is equal to active link. Okay, so I just remember this name. I will type it here. Okay. It's a right XPath at the rate title is equal to active link. Okay, so actually we cannot write, actually let's wait. Actually we are not able to pause this session here by using F8. So we are just simply seeing the structure in the DOM and we'll just write locator here. Okay, so this is a locator for this tooltip active link. We'll just copy this. Okay, instead of find element I'll just use the find element, so it will not give any exception. Okay, dot, we'll just keep, okay, sorry, so semicolon. Okay, I'll just assign it to the list. Now you can see again I'm going, let me remove this error. I will go inside this find elements, see the return type, it's a list of element. I'll copy this, paste it here. I'll just provide some name, elements, it's a variable name again. Okay, now here I'll check the size. If the size is greater than 1, greater than 0, that means tooltip is present on the UI. If size is greater than 0, return true, else return false. Now instead of void I'll just use the boolean here. Okay, so I'm not putting any curly braces here because it's a single line, else I can put as well. Okay, so I can put if condition in this way or in this way as well. Okay, it's a single line sentence here for the if, so there is no need to put the curly braces. Okay, so simply this method return if that active link is present on the UI or not. Okay, so I'll just go to the class again, text class. Now save all the changes. Now whenever, yeah, I will directly call, I'll just directly hover the mouse on that, click me. Okay, so now ever dot this I just missed, let me, yes, I have to create object. Mouse or test, not this, switch the class the mouse work page. Mouse work page. We are passing the driver from the base class now. So here dot Can we click? We don't want to click, actually we have to hover the mouse. Okay, so I'll write one more method in the mouse over page to hover, or I think there is one method in the base in the action class in the utility. Let me check if it is there for the hovering mouse.
Can't we write there directly, like to move to element?
Yes, at test case level we can write directly, that's fine. I'll write at test case level directly, then we can just move that to the common. Okay, before that I will just create an actions class object here. Action. Actually, this common thing, we have to put it somewhere in the base. So for now, I'm just putting a test case level. Okay. Action dot move to element. Okay, and here we have to pass that element name. So this is element name. Move. This is the class reference. Then link click me. Okay, this will simply hover the mouse on that link. Okay, and after hovering the mouse, we have to verify that tooltip is present or not. So for that, I'm just calling that method. Calling method from the mouse over page. So what is the method name? I forgot that. Just delete this extra part. Verify tooltip. Okay, so I'll just call this method here. Verify tooltip. Verify tooltip. Okay. So this method will return true or false. So simply I will just put this in assertion. Assert true. Okay. So this condition is true, then test case will get passed, otherwise test case will get failed. I'm still printing this. Also, I'll just printing this here. So you will get again more clarity on this. I'll just put in the curly braces. So tip is displayed. Else, again there are multi-line code, so I'm just putting the curly braces here as well. I'll just put sys statement fail to display tooltip. Okay, fine. So now I'll execute the code. Just let me check the code. Move to element, then the object. Okay, fine. Execute the code, and you can observe. Directly to that mouse over page. It should hover the mouse on the click me. It's not doing that. Let me check what happened. Failed. Okay, failed to display tooltip. Let me check it again. What's went wrong here? This XPath is correct. Why it is not hovering then?
Maybe we are not giving the wet option to load the element.
Not actually, because this page is quickly loaded. You can see when we're hitting enter, it will just loading quickly. So I'll just put a weight here. If you want to put, we can just put the weight here for this element. That's fine. WebDriver weight. And then I'll just put weight for the 10 seconds only. Okay, that's fine. Then WebDriver weight. This is explicit weight. Okay. Dot The syntax wait, yes, until, okay. Expected condition, conditions, okay, dot. Visibility of the web element, okay. So which element? This element. Simply put semicolon here. So it will simply wait to load this element and then we'll go ahead, okay. Executing this code now. Again. Sorry, I just put the invisibility. It's a visibility. Excellent.
Sir, one thing.
Yeah, tell
Sir,
me.
if it doesn't hover, it will not get this one, like link click me.
Yes. Yeah, it will not get this verify tool, actual tooltip. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm executing the code. It should hover, then only it will show the output.
Yes.
It's not hovering.
Sir.
Yes, tell me.
Until visibility of
this element only.
Of this element, this
means
link,
this.
Link
click me.
Go to. Okay. Go to that method.
Which one?
Which one? This link click me. Mouse over page.
This one, line number 21.
Yes, sir.
Actually, this is inbuilt method. We have not written this.
No, not this one. Not this one. So I want this link click me. This method. Link click me. Okay.
This is XPath.
Okay, this is the particular XPath. This is the active link, right?
Yes.
Which we'll get in the DOM. And whenever we'll hover on this, we'll get the right
tooltip.
That one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Now go to that code. Okay.
This code is correct, but I'm not sure why it is not hovering.
I am also thinking about the same. I thought that you were pointing to link click me directly, means that text.
No. Actually, that is that code is written inside here.
Verify tooltip. It's written over here.
Here, actually, you can see this active link. I think there is some issue.
Also, one thing we can do over here. We can just take the we can use the get attribute method and check it, right? Because the get attribute method will get the value of that particular when you hover on that. Correct, the title.
When we hover, then only we'll get that attribute, right?
Yes,
so we are not hovering. That's why our test case is failing. So compulsory we have to hover.
Actually. Okay. Okay. So move to element. Will just and there is no series of element, so we don't need to provide build and perform, right?
Oh, you're right, guy. Now let me execute the code. Let's see the output.
Double semicolon, then again it will give problem.
Yeah, no. We can put multiple, that's fine. Yes, perfect. But actually, I just missed this perform part. Actually, don't forget about this build. Just perform is mandatory there.
Yes, because build is used when there are series of actions to be performed.
Yes, right.
Correct. Means there is only one thing. Move to element.
Yes, right.
This is a single thing. So perform will work. If you put two things over here, this perform will not work. That time we need build.
Right.
Okay.
Now it's happened very quickly, but test case got passed. You can see the output here.
True. It's providing true.
Yes. Tooltip is displayed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happen actually. I also miss few things.
Yes. It happens.
Yes. So Diksha, any doubt here?
No, I got it.
Yeah. Simply actually now we can see I have put this weight here and action class here. So simply we don't have
now let's do one thing. Let's just remove this weight. Remove this weight. Just comment it out and let's check if it is working.
Yes, it should work.
Yes, it will work.
Yeah, it's clicked. Yep.
Yeah. Got it.
is hovered. Yeah.
Yes. So the site is a good site, means
Yeah, yeah.
no
It's a lightweight.
irresponsible issue.
Yes, yes, yes.
Unresponsive issue. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, now here you can see we have just put this WebDriver weight and action class in test case level, but you should not do this. You should create a method like this. I will show you. If this is required, then only, okay? Don't call this method unnecessarily.
This comes under best practice, right?
Yes, base. You can see here, base test page. Because for page, we need weight, right? So we have to put this in the base page only, yeah? Base test page or base page. Okay, we can create multiple method like this. Wait per element to be present. So I'm using this number of elements to be 1, okay, at least 1. Then wait per element to be visible. Then we can use this visibility of the element. It's again accepting the web element as a parameter. Then it's a clickable, but for button you can use this wait for element to be clickable. Okay, element to be clickable, and then we can pass the web element here. Like that, we can write multiple method as per our requirement. Okay, so we don't have to write this code at test case level at all. This is not recommended. You can simply call this method.
I asked that this is best practice, right?
Yes, this is the best practice. Okay. Because every time when we're writing the every code in test case level, the test case might get the lengthy, and we are just simply writing the same code again and again. That's a redundant code. That should not be happened. Yes, that's for the mouse over.
So, if possible, can you provide us a list of best practice? Yes, we can get it on the internet, over the internet. So no issue with that.
I'm going to.
Yes, but we want you to provide so that initial level we might face some issue and we can resolve it. Right.
Yes, that's right.
If we get all the things right, then we will never know what was actually happening, why we're using this best practice.
Right. You will blindly use that code. Right?
Yes. Just so if we can get from the initial stage some few things which are considered to be best practice at the initial level, so you can go through that and keep on practicing on that and get the most of the best practice over there.
Yeah. Shubham, I'll just commit this code into the Git, so you can just take a pull for this. This is the basic, very much needed methods that I have written in this class.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Any scenarios that you want to automate me now? So I'll just go through the few.
Can you explain it once more? Mouse over again.
Yes, okay, I'll explain. Mouse over, okay. So this is actually the page. Yeah, this is a test case. Okay. So if I want to hover the mouse, you have to provide the web element, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in actions class, you have to remember the actions. Okay. There is one more class action that we are not using. So are you seeing something on my UI? Actually, I'm seeing some red.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. Something happened.
I don't know what this is happening actually. I'm not sure what I'm using. I think I have used some option here. I'm not sure. Ignore that part actually. I'm also not sure. Okay, so there is one more class action. Just remember this class is a Java swing. Okay, so this is some different thing. Okay, this is interaction. We don't have to use this. We have to use actions. Okay, remember this yes at the end. This class I have created object of this. For this, we need a driver as a parameter. Okay, if you hover the mouse on the action, it is expecting the web driver. We have to pass this, and then in actions class, there is a method move to element. So it will move to element means simply it will hover the mouse on that web element. So we have to provide the web element here, and to perform actual action, we have to use this dot perform. Then only it will hover the mouse. Otherwise, it will not. You have to remember this syntax here. Perform means it will actually do. Okay.
So this dot link click me is the path, right? I mean, to.
Yes. This is a XPath for this. I'll just go to the UI again. This is the XPath for this click me. Now my requirement is that I have to hover the mouse on click me, right? So I have to create an XPath for this click me first. So I have created here and put it into the event page. Okay, this is XPath. Then I have to verify if the tooltip is displayed or not. Tooltip means what? You can see this link actually active link text when I'm hovering mouse on click me. So for this I need one extra XPath. Okay, so that XPath I have put into the method directly here. Okay, suppose if I putting this XPath outside this method, in some cases it might fail with the style element reference exception. Why? Because the page is getting refreshed when we are hovering mouse on the link click me. So I just put this and I will just verify I will just call this method when I am hovering mouse on the link click me, and then only I am just locating this XPath. Got it?
Yes.
When there is a page refresh, suppose for example, if you are refreshing page multiple times, every time you have to create an object of it. Suppose now this is a simple page, we are not refreshing this page frequently. Suppose if you click on some particular link, this page is getting refreshed. Refresh means how you are seeing this refreshing icon at the top in the title. Okay, so in that case, compulsory you have to create object of it again. So when you are creating object in the page factory, it will again reinitiate all the elements present on that UI by using this method. Otherwise, you will get null pointer exception at that point. Okay. So always you have to make sure that when the page is refreshing, you have to create an object of page again, and then you have to work on following steps. Got it? Any questions here? No. Okay, fine.
So can you please open that base test page?
Base test page. Okay, I'm opening this. You can see.
Here what we did, we put the weights for elements, all pages. What we did, can you explain?
Actually, I have just created a method. I have not used it at test case level.
Okay.
Okay, so if suppose, for example, I'm just taking the current test case example only. Mouse, where is that mouse over? Yeah, this one. Suppose if this weight is needed here, so I will not write a weight like this. I will simply call the method from base.
Okay.
Like that, I'll just put, and I'll just uncommenting code first. I'll show you the difference.
Okay, in all pages where we use weight, we put all singly in a base test page, and using it by method.
Yes, right. That we can do
directly on test page.
Yep. Okay. Now here I have written a 2-line code. Okay. The same code is present there actually. Invisibility of, I can show you that. Invisibility of, you can, there is the base class, base test page. It's a visibility of, sorry. Yeah. So this code I have written there at test case level. Instead of that, I'll just simply call this method there.
Okay, we just use wait for element visible and pass that web element.
Yeah, and I'll just make this method static actually. So I can call this method without calling the
object.
Without creating the object. Yes. Right. So simply I'm calling this method
page dot wait for element.
Actually, I'm navigating here and there. I think there is some mess up of my Eclipse. Okay, I'll simply write like this: base test case dot wait for element to be visible, and I'll just pass this web element. Okay, I will not write this 2-line of code.
Yes, sir.
Okay, instead of that, I will write this, and you have to write a code in this way only. You don't have to write this code everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and same for the action class as well. Okay, you have to create one method.
Here you said we use actions.
Actions,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
Actions.
Or there is two classes like action and actions.
Yeah, that we are not using actually. That I don't know, but we are not using that. This one swing actually is for the UI development. This action class.
Okay.
It's a swing class, right? It's
always we use two actions.
Actions, yeah. This one.
Okay.
First one, actions, ending with S. Okay. If you're putting extra semicolon, that's fine. It's not causing any issue here. Okay. We can actually that's not a practice, but that will not cause any issue.
It just close that.
Yeah, it will just instruct JVM that this sentence is completed.
Statement.
Completed, yeah. So now we are putting extra semicolon here. So there is no sentence. So it is just conveying JVM it's completed, but there is nothing. So it is not causing any issues. Okay. Okay, that's fine. then I'm just going to the site again. Let me figure out extra scenario. Progress bar you got a non-breaking space as well, right? So we can just create a non-breaking space locator by using the contains. Okay. So we cannot create a locator directly. We can directly create locator using text, contains, my, or button. It's a non-breaking space. And what is the different again? Visibility is fine. For visibility, we can just use the weight. Okay. Then scroll bar is data, client side delay. Okay, text input is fine. Client side delay. Again, it can be handled by the weight delay part. Ajax data also can be handled by the weight. That's fine. Absolutely no problem. We have to wait till the button color changes. I think. Let me wait. Yeah, this is loaded in the green color. So simply we can just put wait to this element to be loaded on the UI. Take that. Okay. So guys, for today I'm done from my side. Any questions you are having now?